Wheel of Time Season 2 is definitely the sophomore series of the year, building on and thoroughly improving from its first installment. From the pacing, the world building, to the acting, everything just seemed better. Now obviously everyone involved with the production deserves an applause, however, special plaudits would have to go to the actors for doing just marvelous work with it. Each of them went all in with their characters and my god was it awesome. Anyway, while I was watching, one particular character caught my attention anytime they appeared on screen. And that would be the dexterous Moiraine Sedai. I felt the need to unravel her, to dig beneath the earth and ice, so I did. I just want to say briefly that I haven't read Robert Jordan's books. All my deductions, discoveries, and opinions are based solely on the show. And we all know adaptations are rarely entirely true to the story, so use that information as you will. Now, right from the very first episode, we are reminded that Moiraine has been cut off from the One Power, and this will go on to be a critical point of development for her character. We see her picking herself up in the morning and carrying on with mundane tasks. However, while doing these tasks, she doesn't seem like someone on the brink of suicide. She does them with grit, what we've come to know her for. In fact, not long after she goes into gear mode, receiving guests all over and making deals with them, she was still herself enough to deceive a veteran trader and essentially make him act as a messenger and retrieve information for her. This is someone who has suffered a predicament so vile that it is said to have killed nearly everyone who had witnessed it. That said, I'm aware of the underlying caveat, but nonetheless, it was still impressive. Even though she didn't technically lose the One Power outright, her brain just merely thinking it did was more than enough to make her go into a severe depressive hole. And we've seen examples of this countless times in real life. In short, Moiraine expresses depression in a way that is extremely rare and is very refreshing to see. Moraine's brutality to her warder Lan for failing her only serves to further highlight what makes her the dreaded yet vulnerable extraordinaire she is. And I'll touch more on the vulnerable part in a bit. There is no doubt a very complex relationship between an Aes Sedai and her warder. And the show, right from season 1, has been particular about highlighting that complex relation. From season 1, we see a warder literally try to commit suicide after the bond between him and his Aes Sedai has been forcefully ripped from him. So I can come to a rough conclusion that the pain of a warder losing his Aes Sedai is nearly as great as a channeler being cut off from the One Power. Nearly though, I do think permanently being cut off from the One Power still causes the worst in terms of psychological damage. The thing is, the bond between an Aes Sedai and her warder is extraordinary. It goes beyond the bounds of normal everyday interactions. It is supernatural, and in Lan's word, an Aes Sedai and her warder need not do much talking because the bond does the talking for them. And when you have that kind of connection with another person, I don't know about you, but I'd be devastated if it ever got broken. And that's what we saw with Lan. He's restless, paranoid, he doesn't know what's going on with Moiraine, and it's grating on him. We get a glimpse of what it feels like for a warder who thinks he's failed his Aes Sedai. Moiraine knows this, nonetheless, she couldn't care about it, and she's just like going all savage mode and taking it to the extreme, because of reasons we will soon get into. Even though she denies it, she keeps on trying to push Lan away, and it took me a while to really understand there are two main reasons she does this. One, because she genuinely sees him now as a distraction to her end goal, now that she's failed and she can't afford any more slip-ups. Two, she deep down somewhere within her wants to save him from further hurt. That phrase, "we were never equals," could also mean two things. It could mean we were never equals point blank, end of story, and it could mean that they never really were equals. They complemented each other, more like symbiotes, if that makes any sense. And this right here just emphasized the true depth of Moraine's character. Later in episode 2, we discover something else about Moiraine that isn't necessarily a secret discovery, but is definitely worth pointing out. And that is she will do literally anything to protect the Dragon Reborn, even as far as kill a sister and endangering a civilian, which happened with the stable woman in episode 5. This side of her character is quite scary. Moiraine can be quite dangerous and ruthless, as we've seen throughout the show, but killing a sister? That's some Blackadder shit right there. If there's anything that is irrefutable about Moiraine, it's that she is unhinged, and she is not afraid or too sentimental to do what needs to be done. Another major element of Moraine's character is her noble house background. In this season, we get a look into her family and status as a noblewoman. Moiraine has just a messed up relationship with her family as she currently does with Lan. She left them for the White Tower decades ago and never returned, probably never sending her wishes as well. It's also important to point out that literally almost everyone in her household idolizes her being the sharp-witted, talented Aes Sedai she is. However, that high esteem does not justify when she returns home after so many decades and can't even be bothered to sit for a cup of tea. She immediately starts bossing everyone around, meanwhile blatantly ignoring her sister, who held the whole damn thing together, while she was off saving the world and whatnot. This clearly devastates Anvia, who still idolizes her. And we see how this unorthodox and indifferent behavior eats her sister up from the inside. She yells, it's been decades, Moiraine. Have a cup of tea. However, Moiraine sharply dismisses the suggestion. In another scene, after losing Rand, she's distraught and pays zero mind to Barthanes, who offers her a sandwich, and it's buttered on both sides. Someone would really have had to kill a loved one for me to reject that. Which is kind of ironic because Barthanes ends up being a dark friend and whatnot. Anyway, frankly, if I were Anvia, I would likely have a worse reaction. Then again, she knows that deep beneath all that callousness, there is a sister who cares. Basically, she wants to believe in her, she chooses to believe in her. And Moiraine knows this too, and uses that knowledge to access as many resources as she can from her to achieve her goals. However, it does beg the question, what could possibly make Moiraine such a jerk to her own family? Surely it can't be her pursuit of protecting the Dragon Reborn, right? Well, you would be right, but not entirely. You see, from what we've seen in Season 2, it's easy to tell Moiraine has been a very eccentric and tactful character at least since when she became an Aes Sedai. She's always defied the norm and taken pride in doing so. I would dare to say that though she does genuinely love her family, she sees them as a luxury. One of the many luxuries that if it came down to it, she could do without, even if it would hurt her to the bone. Moiraine has a very objective view of life and the world around her, and to her, the only thing that matters in the grand scheme of things is the will. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills. She said that line more times than any other in the show, and it isn't by accident. And this will tie into the next point I want to bring up. Her obsession with the Dragon Reborn. Moiraine was your average Aes Sedai, however when the Aiel War ended and the weight of the Dragon Reborn was thrust upon her, everything changed for her. Even Alanna Sedai attested to Moiraine being a different person. She claimed it was as though water turning into ice. As I've already noted, the Dragon Reborn seems to be the only worthy cause to Moiraine where we are in the show. She has and will definitely do dreadful things to protect him. And she's been doing this for so long, more than 20 years now. That's why she's so invested in this. That's why she could give her life for it. She's carried the weight on her shoulders for so long, keeping secrets from her fellow sisters, traveling about far away from the one person she actually loves. All these things take their toll and have a psychological impact on her. Coupled with her unnerving dexterity and unmatched determination, of course she'll do anything for the cause. She's hardwired herself that way, and that's what makes the conflict between her and Swan more titillating. Swan wants to cage the dragon, but Moiraine cannot allow it, even going as far as betraying Swan. Can I just say that the scene where Swan has to literally compel Moiraine to close the way gates? Oh god, that was too good. Way to play into power dynamics and betrayal themes. All that said, even with all the complexity, awesomeness, and nastiness that comes with Moiraine as a package, we also get to see her good parts. Throughout Season 2, we get these brief moments sprinkled in where we see her humanness, like when she narrated the story of how she met Lan, or when she apologized to Barthanes for being an absolute jerk. At moments, she can even be impressed at other people's wits, like with her little sister. We also see her vulnerability, like when she realizes that without the One Power, she can't protect Rand from the Forsaken. All these traits come together to form the complex character that is Moiraine Sedai. And looking at this character on the screen, I'm forced each time to think of what I would do if I were placed right there in her shoes. Would I behave in the same way, or would I be 100% worse and just go off the rail? Because it genuinely is shocking to me how she manages to remain so much composure even in most situations, even when she's hurting, because she knows she's hurting the one she loves. I feel like only a handful of people would ultimately be able to relate with this character. However, that doesn't make it any less impactful. Despite how great Moiraine clearly is, I can't even call her the star of the show point blank. I mean, with the likes of Nynaeve, Egwene, Rand, Lanfear, and several others, the show is packed with interesting characters, and I can't wait to see where each of their story arcs go from here on, and hopefully we'll discuss more about them together in the future. If you've enjoyed this video, do not hesitate to watch this one up here. What do you think about Moiraine's character, and the Wheel of Time as a whole? I'd really love to know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching, until next time, Jana.